Hey everybody, Marshall Apologist back, and I was gonna make a video here real quick about some comments that I saw Al Mohler make at a conference of Christian leaders, and respect all those guys a lot. But the comment in particular or the question he was asked, was about Christians and libertarianism and whether it's a good idea for Christians to be involved in that particular political philosophy and everything. And his basic answer was no, and he used some reasons that I don't really think are all that valid. Um, Not completely wrong, though. He basically used the reason, well, Ayn Rand and a lot of atheists were libertarians, and so somehow that's wrong for us to be involved in it, and it evolved out of a kind of idea that man is personally sovereign and all this. And I think that's a little of guilt by association fallacy. I don't really care that Ayn Rand was a libertarian. She had a objectivist, she called it, philosophy that just lent itself towards libertarianism. I'm a Christian, and I think my Christian beliefs can also lend themselves towards libertarianism. And the way that that works out, and what I would have responded to Al Mohler with, would have been God creates people and endows them with their rights, much like the Constitution says. And he endows them with rights because we are made in his image. He gives us, rationality, emotions, planning, all the kind of things that would be, found in a rational being. And I didn't really like the fact that he didn't seem to even want to address the issue of rights or what libertarianism was or the different strands of it or whatever. And he just kind of said, well, no, they're for gay marriage and abortion, and so that's just, well, that's all there is. And that's not entirely true. A libertarian can be for abortion if they don't believe that a fetus is a person. If you find a libertarian that believes a fetus is a person, by definition, they will believe that that is a person with rights. Thinks that as a person with rights, they believe that abortion is wrong and should be banned because of all number of reasons, or at least restricted. At the very least, I've known several libertarians. I've never known one that was carte blanche. Yeah, abortion's fine in all circumstances, and just go ahead and do it. I've never known one. There might be some. I have no idea. The gay marriage thing can get kind of complicated. My particular stance on gay marriage is I don't think the government should be making laws about marriage. It didn't until the like of John Calvin and Martin Luther basically came along and said, well, the state needs to support things that God supports, more or less. In particular, contracts and contractual obligations and things like that. And they kind of saw marriage as one of those. And so God, the state needs to be invested in protecting good, holy things like that, and to, for some reason, oversee it. And it wasn't originally quite like it is in the U.S. and Europe and Canada and wherever else now, where you have to have a marriage license and all that. But still, the idea was that the state would have to oversee it, and that evolved into the system that we have now, which is terrible, in my opinion, because we have all manners of schizophrenic laws about marriage that shouldn't exist. Uh, for instance, why do I need a marriage certificate? Like, why do I have to ask the government's permission to get married? Like in Canada, a good chunk of the time, I think they used to. I don't think it's law anymore. They'd have to get blood tests, if I'm not mistaken, just to make sure that they weren't related or have disease or some such. And I'm like, that's not really anybody's business but mine. Maybe my church's, if I have a church. Otherwise, no, I don't care. And Al Mohler brought up incest. Well, you wouldn't want them to legalize incest, would you? Yeah, kind of. I don't really see where, if someone's going to commit incest, they're they're just going to do it. If you make it illegal, that's not really going to do anything to discourage the behavior, right? I promise, if you make incest legal, it's not like suddenly thousands more people are going to be going, yeah, you know what? My sister is kind of pretty. I think I will have sex with her. Like, that's not going to happen. Um, and the drug legalization things, and much like Ron Paul said, if you make heroin legal, like no one is going to go, oh, I guess I'll go do a lot of heroin now. No, you might have a handful of people that think like that, and let them, because they'll get out of the way of the rest of us. I'm okay with that. I don't believe in protecting people from themselves. So no, I'm for full decriminalization of drugs, incest, homosexual relationships, all the rest. Whether I like them or not is irrelevant. I don't want to do drugs. I don't want to have sex with a sibling. I don't want to have sex with another man. But them being illegal, if I did want to do them, wouldn't really do much about it. And so that's stupid. But how I would come to libertarianism as a Christian, in case you're curious, is again, God created us with rights, and He gave us a certain degree of sovereignty over our lives. He gave us, life and time and all of that in the way of giving us stewardship of that and our time and talent and skills. And so, how we use those, whether to glorify God or ourselves or whatever else, is not really anybody else's business in terms of using force. Now, it might be my church's business to tell me to not cheat on my wife because I have agreed as joining that church that I agree with their doctrine and their practice, and they have every right to tell me at that point that I need to fall in line with that doctrine or I must leave that social group. Perfectly fine, but that's not the same thing as arresting me for it. And I'm only trying to use the sort of the extreme argument on this and say, well, if you don't think the government should make things that are immoral illegal, well, then you should just legalize everything. And I can easily use that really bad argument back against him. If you think the government should make everything that's immoral illegal, then you have to say, well, the government should make alcohol and drunkenness illegal, even in the private home. And you have to make lying illegal, and you have to make swearing illegal if you think swearing is a sin, and all manner of things. But how I would come to it overall, I would say, because I have these rights that God gave me, because I have stewardship of this that God gave me, the only things which the government can restrict me on in terms of behavior are those things which cause me to interfere with someone else's stewardship of their God-given time, talent, abilities, and so on, bodies and such. And that is libertarianism in a nutshell. Libertarianism is that wacky idea that people are not other people's property. That's pretty much it. I have my body and my skill set that I can spend however I like, and you have yours. And the only time I can tell you what to do or what not to do is when you're trying to interfere with my ability to do what I want to do, i.e., killing me, for instance, stealing from me, which is basically stealing parts of my life because I spent my life getting money to buy my property. That's how it works. Beating me up. I have stewardship of my body, not yours and not anyone else's, just mine. If you try to beat me up, I have the right to defend myself because you don't have the right to interfere with my limited sovereignty. And so that's how I would come to libertarianism, and that's kind of how a lot of young Christians are approaching it. And again, I respect Al Mohler in a general way, but for him to just kind of hand wave all the possible reasons why young Christians nowadays might be coming to libertarianism, and totally ignoring apparently the history between the kind of moral majority of the GOP and the disenfranchisement of civil liberties issues from the DNC is really shallow argument. I'm kind of disappointed in him, but I mean, if anybody wants to challenge me on any of this, feel free, leave comments, make videos. I don't care. I love to argue. I'll be happy to. But that's my 2 cents. And hey, look, just under 10 minutes.